Tonight, officially sworn in, but the controversy continues with a large protest outside the new administrator's ceremony. Good evening, I'm Laetitia Lemke. This is ABC News Northern Territory. Also tonight, the man accused of ramming into police faces an Alice Springs court. More than $50 million, the breakthrough court case setting the benchmark for future native title claims. Pakistan bombs Kabul, declaring open war against Afghanistan. And the wait is nearly over. The Tillies ready to win over hometown hearts again as the team prepares to take on Asia's best in Australia. After weeks of controversy, the new Northern Territory Administrator has finally been sworn in. David Connolly's appointment sparked anger when past offensive social media posts were made public. The official proceedings were overshadowed by hundreds of people attending a nearby protest that saw a prominent Laetitia elder arrested and charged.
Chaos not usually seen in Darwin, as Eric Fijo is frog-marched into a paddy wagon and charged with trespassing and resisting arrest.
Respected Laetitia elder dragged off like a piece of rubbish by the police.
Inside Parliament, the Territory's new administrator paying his respects.
I would like to commence this morning by thanking the Laetitia people, the saltwater people of this country on which we stand.
David Connolly sworn in after weeks of controversy over his past social media posts about welcome to countries, women and domestic violence.
Everything that he has said is his core values. We should never forget that this man, this is his core values.
I am also conscious that my appointment has prompted a variety of strong views. Well, that's part of a healthy democracy. I believe it is okay to have an opinion and for that opinion to be different to mine.
His Honour stepping into a position which is, by definition, meant to be seen as a symbol of unity.
Your Honour, in the role of Administrator of the Northern Territory with its statutory and civic duties, lies the opportunity to recognise and celebrate the Northern Territory of today, a modern Northern Territory, and to foster a vision of tomorrow that celebrates the great diversity of this place.
Debate, difference and scrutiny are signs of an engaged society. I welcome them and I commit to responding not with division but with respect.
The NT government hoping those words are enough to move on from a saga of its own making. Jack Hislop, ABC News.
A 38-year-old man charged with recklessly endangering lives after his car rammed into a police vehicle faced the Alice Springs local court today. CCTV captured the moments Brendan Woods allegedly targeted police driving at speed into the parked car earlier this week. An officer fired 3 shots at the speeding vehicle in the seconds before impact. Woods was uninjured in the crash. He's been remanded in custody and will reappear in court in April. A former AFL footballer and founder of popular Northern Territory fashion label House of Darwin has faced court charged with aggravated assault, choking and strangling. Sean Edwards was charged earlier this month following an alleged domestic violence incident in May last year, with a temporary restraining order also in place since June. The Darwin local court heard today Mr Edwards intends to contest both the criminal charges and the domestic violence order. Mr Edwards was not present in court today and won't be required to attend when the case returns to court in May. The Federal Court has awarded more than $50 million to a group of Northern Territory traditional owners in a case that could set a precedent for native title compensation across the country. The ruling on the massive MacArthur River mine near the Gulf of Carpentaria is only the second of its kind, involving assessment of compensation for both economic and spiritual losses for damage to country.
Gudangji, Yanyuwa and Yanyuwa country, southeast of Darwin, home to one of Australia's largest mining operations, long a controversial one, and now just the second successful native title compensation claim in the country. The establishment of the McArthur River mine, the later expansion and the highly controversial diversion of the river caused both economic and spiritual loss, according to the federal court's findings today. Justice Katrina Banks-Smith said this diminution of traditional connection to country, to receive from country and to take care of country is compensable loss. It's been endured by this claim group for over 30 years and continues. The country's second native title compensation decision comes 7 years after the first in the landmark Timber Creek case, but today's involves much greater sums. Economic loss was put at just under $750,000, which may yet be disputed. But the $54 million valuation of spiritual loss will be noted by native title groups, governments and private industry elsewhere.
It'll be something that many people will kind of turn their minds to, and as far as the judgment and what that means as precedent across the country, being only the second of its nature. It's something that we believe is a federation of governments issue, rather than kind of left up to this case-by-case situation, state by state, territory by territory, the arduous and traumatic process that communities are taken through the court process.
For the McArthur River claimants, today's victory is bittersweet, with Gudangji woman Josie Davey saying that after years of fighting, her country is just getting damaged and will continue to be damaged. It makes me feel proud that this outcome might help other mob across the country with their fight, she said. The Northern Territory Government is yet to comment on today's decision. Jacqueline Breen, ABC News.
Charles Darwin University has scrapped plans to establish a campus in London as it continues to deal with the fallout from a major accreditation bungle. The decision comes just days after the departure of former Vice-Chancellor Scott Bowman, who announced the London campus this time last year. The expansion was hailed as the start of a new export industry for the NT, but drew criticism from politicians, including the Chief Minister. In a statement, CDU said the decision to scrap the new campus was made following detailed risk analysis. The university spent close to $2 million on the project before it was abandoned. There's been no agreement after a third round of nuclear talks between the United States and Iran, with the prospect of US strikes against the regime looming large. The exiled Crown Prince of Iran says military intervention is critical as a way of helping to overturn Iranian authoritarian rule.
Across Iran, people have been calling for the return of the country's exiled Crown Prince. Reza Pahlavi was heir to the Pahlavi dynasty before his father was overthrown in the 1979 revolution. He wants to see Iran's regime replaced with a democracy.
I've stepped forward to lead the transition movement at the behest and call and support of millions of my fellow compatriots inside Iran and outside the world.
Fears of military confrontations between Washington and Tehran have been growing. The latest round of nuclear talks with Iran wrapped up in Geneva without a deal. More will continue next week in Vienna.
I can say that we made good progress after several hours of intensive negotiation.
But Pahlavi wants the US to take targeted military action.
Whether ultimately we will have a strike or not, the Iranian people will continue their fight. But such an intervention will only help us hasten the regime's collapse.
There might be military attack. There might be, degrading the capabilities of the Islamic Republic. But I'm not convinced that they want to go all the way to bring about, a regime change.
Pahlavi has set up a secure communication channel to help regime insiders defect.
Some of them are members of the military or paramilitary forces. Some of them are in the civilian sector, part of the bureaucracy.
Reza Pahlavi says that with or without US support, regime change is inevitable. But without international backing and substantial defections, it could take longer than many Iranians are hoping for. Nasim Khadem, ABC News.
Pakistan has carried out airstrikes on Kabul and declared open war with Afghanistan after cross-border tensions escalated. South Asia correspondent Meghna Bali joins us. Meghna, is this tipping into all-out conflict?
Laetitia, this isn't the first time Pakistan and the Taliban have fought, but this moment does feel more serious. This is now the second time since the Taliban's takeover that the capital Kabul has been hit. Now, at the core of this dispute is Islamabad's claim that the Afghan Taliban is harbouring and providing safe shelter to the Pakistani Taliban, which is an outfit that's been carrying out attacks inside Pakistan. Now, analysts say that neither side has a decisive military advantage. So while Pakistan's rhetoric is tough, calling for an all-out war, the aim may be more strategic for the international community to put pressure on the Taliban to crack down on these militants. And if that doesn't happen, we could see a repeated cycle of strikes, mediation and escalation.
Meghna Bali, thank you very much. Hillary Clinton has accused Republicans of trying to distract from President Donald Trump's actions. She submitted to a 6-hour grilling behind closed doors about any ties to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Her husband, former President Bill Clinton, also insists he had no knowledge of Epstein's crimes and will front the same committee tomorrow.
Hillary Clinton has had enough.
Literally over and over again. I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein.
After months trying to resist, the former Secretary of State fronted a committee investigating the US government's handling of the Epstein case.
I never went to his island, I never went to his homes, I never went to his offices.
The hearing took an unusual turn.
I started being asked about UFOs and a series of questions about Pizzagate, one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories.
While Mrs. Clinton insists she never met Epstein, her husband did. The Epstein files show former President Bill Clinton in a pool with convicted co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell and next to a woman whose face is redacted. Appearing in the files doesn't imply wrongdoing, and no Epstein victims have made public accusations against Bill Clinton.
The former First Lady was once again under pressure to answer for the actions and the relationships of her husband. Bill Clinton will face his own questions in a lengthy deposition tomorrow that will make him the first former president since 1983 to be questioned by Congress.
They've never answered questions, unlike President Trump, who gets questioned every day by just about every one of you about his knowledge or involvement with Epstein.
It comes amid reports the Justice Department withheld dozens of pages of accusations made against Donald Trump, including an allegation he sexually assaulted a minor in the early 1980s.
There's a massive cover-up going on in the Justice Department to protect Donald Trump and people associated with Jeffrey Epstein.
As questions for Mr. Trump grow, so too are calls for him to testify. Rachel Clayton, ABC News, Washington.
Comedian Magda Szubanski has announced she's in remission after finishing chemotherapy. The 64-year-old, best known for playing Sharon Strzelecki in Kath and Kim, was diagnosed with stage 4 mantle cell lymphoma last year. She shared her relief with fans in a social media video, wishing everybody a happy Mardi Gras and thanking Australians for their support.
It's not a cure, but because I got a good remission, that hopefully means that I'll have, keep the cancer at bay for a good long time. And I also wanted to say a special, huge thank you to all of you for the love and support it was just like a tsunami coming at me.
Property investors have been put on notice, with a federal treasurer strongly hinting he plans to clamp down on housing tax breaks in this year's budget. Jim Chalmers isn't ruling out changes to both capital gains tax and negative gearing in a bid to boost rates of home ownership. Here's National Affairs correspondent Jane Norman.
Constructing a case to target the tax breaks, giving property investors a leg up.
We know that there is a sense of intergenerational unfairness in the tax system and in the housing market as well.
The Treasurer already considering curbing the capital gains tax discount, now looking at limiting negative gearing too. When quizzed on reports, Jim Chalmers left the door wide open.
The Treasury from time to time will canvass a whole range of ideas.
Labor has tried before, taking policies scaling back both tax breaks to the 2019 election, which it went on to lose. During last year's election, the Prime Minister all but ruled out reviving the plan.
I want you to say tonight, categorically, negative gearing is off the table.
Yeah, it's off the table.
A year later, it could be back on, as Labor senses a shift in sentiment.
This is not about my kids, it's about everyone's kids. It's about a country which has been playing catch-up for too long on this dire shortage of housing that we have.
The Coalition remains unconvinced that changing tax arrangements is the answer.
We will reject policies that are going to make it harder and less economic, less attractive to build houses.
No decisions have been made, but options being modelled include lowering the capital gains tax discount from 50% to 33% and limiting negative gearing to 2 investment properties. The changes would raise billions in revenue and, according to experts, help raise rates of home ownership.
We'll see less investors borrowing money to go into the market, and we'll see them being replaced by first home buyers.
Prominent economists and business leaders have this week backed plans to curb the capital gains tax discount, which together with negative gearing has been blamed for distorting the property market. There is an appetite within Labor to tackle these tax breaks in this year's budget. The question is whether it's worth the risk of breaking an election commitment. Jane Norman, ABC News, Canberra.
Coles is under pressure. Profits are dropping at the grocery giant and it's facing a huge fine after a fortnight-long legal battle with a competition watchdog over its pricing.
Supermarket shopping can be frustrating.
We're playing retail 3-card Monty every time we go shopping.
Tony Hibbert lives in regional Australia, where Coles and Woolworths aren't facing competition from Aldi.
A bit of a hostage situation, really, in as much that there's 2 choices. I do shop around for price.
Coles is growing its home brand range to lure in shoppers.
I think we're quite pleased with the sales momentum that we've got at the moment.
Sales at the supermarket grew by 2.5% in the last half year, but its overall profit plunged 11%, thanks to cash that it's setting aside to remediate underpaid workers. And the costs could keep on climbing. Coles is facing a huge fine if it loses a blockbuster case that was lodged by the ACCC alleging fake discounts on down promotions. The fake discounts case has just wrapped up in the federal court and it is now awaiting judgment. Coles declined an on-camera interview about its profit results today, and the company says that it would be inappropriate to comment on legal proceedings.
The outcome of this case will be really interesting because it will clarify the limits of the Australian consumer law where it comes to misleading or deceptive conduct.
Tony's already sus.
The prices go up and down like a dunny seat.
Full-year profits could also be down as the pricing case verdict looms. Amelia Terzon, ABC News.
Budget Direct is being hit with legal action over allegations its customers were overcharged and lost online discounts they'd been promised. The corporate regulator says tens of thousands of customers lost more than $3 million between 2020 and 2024 because of the misconduct of Budget Direct's underwriter. ASIC says Auto & General were aware of the problem since 2016 but failed to fix it. The underwriter says it has since refunded customers and improved its systems. To finance now, and thousands of workers have lost their jobs to AI since the start of the year, while Netflix has walked away from its bid to take over Warner Brothers Discovery. Here's David Chow.
So earlier this week, Commonwealth Bank said it would be slashing 300 jobs and replacing them with AI. The software firm WiseTech will be getting rid of 2,000 workers, while Block, which owns Afterpay and Square, decided to sack 4,000 staff, or nearly half its workforce. And its share price shot up because markets equate cost-cutting with higher profit. Now, Block's CEO Jack Dorsey says he can employ a much smaller team to use artificial intelligence and do an even better job. And until I get replaced by AI, let's take a look at today's worst performing stocks, like Coles, which posted an 11% drop in half-year profit, made worse by a court decision last year ordering it to compensate thousands of underpaid workers. Meanwhile, Bapcor, which sells car parts and accessories, did much worse after it posted a $105 million loss. Plus, it had to raise $200 million in an emergency by issuing new shares at a massive discount, which is not a good look. So all up, the ASX went up by just 0.3% today, which is technically its third record high in 3 days. Now, overseas, Wall Street fell as Nvidia wasn't able to fire up the market despite its massive profit, while the price of gold, oil and iron ore didn't move by very much. And the Aussie dollar is still trading above 71 US cents. Now, just finally, Netflix has abandoned its plans to take over Warner Brothers Discovery, a decision which sent its share price soaring as its bidding war with Paramount was getting a bit too pricey. So Paramount has emerged victorious with its $156 billion bid. Either way, it can't be good for consumers as less choice normally means higher prices. And that's finance.
For the second time in 2.5 years, Australia will host a major women's football tournament with the Asian Cup kicking off this weekend. As ABC Sports' Amanda Shalala explains, 12 teams will contest the trophy over 3 weeks in Perth, Sydney and the Gold Coast.
An early exit from the Paris Olympics prompted a 10-month wait for a new head coach. Joe Montemuro took over at the start of June. Despite the short runway, he's made this team his own. His brand is total football, which requires versatility and freedom to roam with a possession-based game. The Matildas' best front three looks very settled. Sam Kerr, Caitlin Ford and Hayley Rasso. And Mary Fowler is now back in the mix after recently returning from an ACL injury. Kyra Cooney-Cross and Katrina Gorry anchor the midfield. Other strong options include Claire Wheeler and Amy Sayer. Ellie Carpenter is one of the best right-backs in the world. Steph Catley could be used in her traditional left-back role or as a centre-back. Claire Hunt and Winnie Heatley appear to be the other defensive front-runners, with Caitlin Torpey also an option depending on Catley's role. Mackenzie Arnold is now the undisputed first-choice goalkeeper after Tegan Micah's late withdrawal due to concussion. Indians are largely unknown but have dominated at underage level. South Korea famously knocked the Matildas out in 2022 in the quarterfinals, and China is the defending champion and 9-time winner. While the trophy is the biggest prize, 6 teams will also secure direct qualification for next year's World Cup in Brazil.
Amy Sayer has been a Matilda for 8 years, debuting for the national side as a 16-year-old. But bad luck and serious injury have been speed bumps in a career seemingly destined for great heights. Now Sayer is ready to deliver on the national stage.
Amy Sayer has experienced both the highs
it's the first international goal for Amy Sayer
and the devastating lows of a professional sporting career. A serious knee injury in 2024 ending the New South Wales product's dream of playing at the Paris Olympics and putting her out of soccer for a year.
When you think about how short our careers can be, that's a lot of time to be away from the game and away from the field and being able to develop as a player.
Since returning to the national side, Sayer has been in fine form. She scored twice against Argentina in June.
Amy Sayer, 2 goals in her first start from 500-odd days.
Now she's in the Matildas Asian Cup squad, her first major tournament.
The Asian Cup is kind of my World Cup, you know, to play on home soil, to be in front of Australian fans and to hopefully finally get the chance to show myself off as a player.
It's been a long road to this moment for Sayer. After debuting for the Matildas as a 16-year-old in 2018, she's only played 19 games in 8 years. But the midfielder feels ready to make an impact.
It hasn't really been until this past year, coming back from my injury, that I've had more consistent minutes and consistent appearance in the setup. So I think I don't take that for granted, and I'm really hoping that I'm able to show everything that I can do on this, what I think is now my world stage.
The Matildas open their Asian Cup campaign against the Philippines on Sunday. Tom Wildy, ABC News.
India has set Australia 252 for victory in the second women's one-day international at Bellerive Oval in Hobart. The tourists won the toss and elected to bat half-centuries from Pratika Rawal and captain Harmanpreet Kaur, laying the foundation for India's total of 251 from its 50 overs. Australia made a fast start to its chase, a 42-ball half-century from opener Phoebe Litchfield, putting the hosts on track for victory. It comes as vice-captain Sophie Molyneux was ruled out of the rest of the multi-format series with a back injury. South Africa is through to the semi-finals of the T20 World Cup after a 9-wicket win over the West Indies. The Proteas were commanding with the bat. Captain Aiden Markram blasted 82 from 46 balls as his side chased the West Indies total of 8 for 176 in 16 overs. And India has kept its semi-finals hopes alive by eliminating Zimbabwe with a 72-run win. The reigning champions set up the win by amassing an incredible 4 for 256. Not even the threat of lightning could stop Melbourne beating Richmond in their final pre-season hit-out before the AFL season begins next week. Less than 3 minutes into the opening quarter, players were forced off the field in Ballarat after lightning struck nearby. When play resumed about 40 minutes later, the Demons dominated play. Jacob van Rooyen kicked 3 goals before a second lightning delay caused the match to be abandoned, with Melbourne finishing 35-point winners. The Royal Australian Mint in Canberra has unveiled a new coin to mark the 60th anniversary of the country going decimal. The new $1 coin is going into general circulation with a tiny change that could easily be missed.
In come the dollars, in come the cents, to replace the pounds and the shillings and the pence.
It's 60 years since Australia converted to decimal currency. And to celebrate that milestone, the Royal Australian Mint is releasing a commemorative $1 coin.
There's a subtle but symbolic difference on that coin, an extra kangaroo. So instead of that mob of 5 roos, we've got a mob of 6 roos coin to celebrate the 60th anniversary.
It's the first change to the design of the $1 coin since 1984, adding a kangaroo so that there's one for every decade since decimalisation. Each of these machines behind me can make 600 coins a minute. And the Mint says there's already 8.5 million of the commemorative $1 coins in circulation. Some have already been found.
Some have wondered if it's a mistake. Some have wondered what's the story behind it. So it's really exciting today to tell everyone it's part of our celebration.
The Mint, it's a storyteller in metal. With each coin it produces, it captures a fragment of our national journey.
Australian stories that may just end up in your pocket. James Tugwell, ABC News, Canberra.
Now to the weather, and Barb has sent in tonight's photograph of West Alice looking lush and green after rain. And you can send in your photograph to weatherpicsnt@abc.net.au. Extensive areas of cloud with showers and thunderstorms developing over most of the NT today. A top of 30 in Darwin, 33 in Jabiru and Batchelor. A few showers in Katherine, 33, 34 in Nhulunbuy and Borroloola. 29 in Alice Springs, Yulara 32, Tennant Creek 33. And the satellite images show thick cloud extending from the deep low over central Australia. Lots of thunderstorm activity in the north. The low is developing southwards, edging southwards over the Simpson district, extending at trough into the south, and a ridge is extending up the east coast from a high east of Tasmania. A cold front's moving eastwards into the Bight. And interstate tomorrow, rain and 27 in Sydney, 28 in Adelaide, 26 in Perth. Around the Territory tomorrow, thunderstorms in Alice 33 and partly cloudy showers Yuendamu 34. Storms extending into the north, 32 in Katherine and Numbulwar, Gallowinku 30 degrees in Darwin and Warramianga as well, 31 in Jabiru. Seas are up to 1 metre on Darwin Harbour with winds to 20 knots. The sun is rising about 10 to 7 tomorrow, setting at 10 past 7. And looking ahead, showers and possible storms continuing, with falls increasing over the weekend as the night. Thank you for your company. Good night.